Nowadays, with the oversaturation of the superhero genre, people take the idea of what superheroes are meant to be for granted. They're supposed to be a symbol of hope and inspiration for young people, or for those who are older, to show you that even people with extraordinary powers suffer from the same things we do. Whether it's Spider Man struggling to pay rent, the X Men unable to be accepted by a closed minded society, or Superman struggling with his inner humanity, there are plenty of things to love and relate to no matter your age. Today, I just wanted to discuss why superheroes have been significant and important, not just to me, but to millions of people around the world. For starters, as someone who grew up in the 2000s, a lot of the content I grew up with was various superhero cartoons and movies, each of which provided me with a different fantasy to escape to or lesson to be learned. Nowadays, as cheesy as it is, the simple speech Uncle Ben gives Peter Parker in Spider Man is as relevant as it has ever been. As a person, no matter how big we think we are, it is our responsibility to our fellow man to help make each other's lives better. Sure, we can't all jump off a 50-story building and swing around New York putting a stop to crime, but we can help pick someone up after they fall, or offer a shoulder to cry on, or even something as simple as a compliment can go a long way for some people. Recently, I've been reading X-Men comics, and I found myself really resonating with them. As I've gotten older, and with this past decade, I think a lot of the themes explored in these particular stories are more and more relevant. For starters, I currently clean for a living, and it feels like a very thankless job at times, and a lot of the time I feel like nobody ever really cares or notices. Then I go home and I read these comics and see similar things happening to these characters I love, like Cyclops. Time and time again, the X-Men are saving humanity from the worst things imaginable, and are always met with the same bigotry and stubbornness they are always hit with. I know it's not quite the same thing, obviously, but it helps me as a 21-year-old to escape to this fictional superhero universe and seeing characters that I love and care about push through some of the same kinds of struggles that I feel I face as well. And I think that's why a lot of people haven't been as receptive to recent superhero projects as they were to older ones. For starters, things like She-Hulk are made with the intention to alienate certain audiences, and that just isn't what this genre is for. This genre is for people to unite and see a classic good versus hero storyline with trials and tribulations, but always has the heroes come out on top with perseverance. God damn, when I write that it sounds cliche, but that's why it's important. The world at times can feel so gray and hopeless, so to have these higher than life characters struggle with human issues and come out on top makes us feel like we can too. Superman is a good example to use, honestly. A character who a lot of people feel is boring because of his powers, I actually find interesting because of his powers. See, Superman is as far from a human being as you could possibly get. An alien from a planet far away who is invulnerable, can fly, shoot lasers out of his eyes, and even has icy breath. That means that most of his challenges aren't physical, but mental. See, a lot of the best Superman stories test his character and put him in situations that really test his morality. Lex Luthor and various of his other rogues galleries constantly push him to the brink of losing everything. They want him to snap and show everyone why he's to be feared. Fear-mongering is such a big issue in the real world, so when Superman constantly with his actions shows that despite his strength, he is human at his core and wants nothing but peace and happiness in the hardest of times, that's something we can latch onto and be inspired by. Now I could go on and on all day, but I just wanted to get out there that superheroes have always and should always be a way to keep us together. Yeah, they're just fictional characters with silly costumes, but they symbolize something so much more. There's something Stan Lee said that once really resonated with me as someone who wants to pursue acting and content creation for a living. The quote goes, "Years ago, when I was writing all these comics, I always felt I was really wasting my time. I felt, okay, so I'm making a living. We're selling comics, but there are people building bridges, and people doing medical research, and people doing things that matter, and I'm writing these stupid little fantasy stories. Maybe what I'm doing isn't really unimportant. Maybe entertainment is one of the most important things because there are so many bad things in the world that if you can entertain somebody for a while, it's a good thing. So I think I'm proudest of the fact that maybe some of the things I've done have entertained people." This really struck a chord with me as someone who wants to provide entertainment to help people in the same way stories that Stan Lee wrote with Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, or the X-Men helped other people. We should stop hating each other over opinions, attacking one another because they're different, and join together to love the thing we all love, which is comic books and comic book media. Thank you for listening. This is just a little ramble that's been on my mind since I really started getting deep into reading more comics. 2024 wasn't a very positive year for me, as I felt I was just taking up space on the planet and stuck in a perpetual cycle of not really wanting to live but not wanting to die either. That Stan Lee quote, my friends and family, and the various amount of stories I've been able to wrap myself in have inspired me to take the necessary steps to try and propel my life forward. From the bottom of my heart, if you watch this at all, I don't care if it's just 3 of you or 3,000, I just wanted to say thank you for letting someone like me talk about my passions on the internet.